I might have to have it in Hebrew somewhere.
I think this is.
Oh, this is in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Right.
The first 15 is.
Yes. Okay, so we could start this up also. All right, beautiful. You want to make copies? It's not a bad idea. I think so.
I just photocopy it. That's it.
Yeah. Page 33.
Okay. How many?
Maybe 10 should probably do it. Okay.
This is it.
Yeah. Shabbos haGADOL.
How far into the sequence should I put on?
Just you can print just the first page probably for now. Let me see.
This
Maybe 2 pages.
and that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to stay with the theme here of Shabbos haGADOL for a little while. Hope you guys don't mind. Here, take this also. Take and pass. This is running?
Yeah.
Wow, surprise. All right, so we're just about to wrap up this Sicha. We came onto this theme yesterday of essentially understanding why Shabbos haGADOL is on the day of the week and not the day of the month. Right? But why? Who could tell us why?
It's not breaking nature.
It's not breaking nature, right? Nothing about the miracle seems to have broken nature. The firstborn of Egypt represents the tokiv of nature itself. Mitzrayim is Mitzrayim. The Bechor of Mitzrayim is like the essence of nature. And when they fought against their people, it was not like an open miracle in the sense that it made logical sense that they would try and save their lives. And so therefore we said that the whole miracle was shifted from the general concept of Jewish miracles of Chadashim, which means Chidush, something that's imposed upon the nature. And this miracle, because of the nature of this miracle, is that nature itself was serving Hashem without changing the laws of nature. Therefore, they shifted it to the day of the week called Shabbos, which is also, as we said, part of the world. So just like sort of wrap it up here, chapter 4, right? One last point that Rabbi wants to point out, this is called a Nes Gadol, right? We find this lashon in certain places, but in the halacha, where the reason why it's called Shabbos haGADOL is because a Nes Gadol took place, right? An unusually great miracle, which is interesting because we're saying it kind of wasn't a miracle at all, but it was a unique type of miracle, which is called Gadol. So this lashon Gadol, when it comes to miracles, it has a special significance, the word Gadol. Let's see what it means. So you look in chapter 4 here, page 55. You have that? Even though this miracle did not break the natural order, nonetheless, it is called a nes. And not only is it called a nes, but it's called a nes gadol. What does it have that signifies this miracle being gadol? Not only did it become a nes gadol, but it changed the name of the Shabbos to being Shabbos haGADOL, which means it also put the whole Shabbos on a different scale than all the other Shabboses of the year, which is itself a very serious matter. And he says, what's the story? Right? Gadol shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How does the true nature of Hashem's limitlessness come to expression? Right? And basically, when we're going to call Hashem Gadol, what we mean is that Hashem has no limits. That's kind of what it means, Gadol. Where do we find the true Gadlus of Hashem, that He's truly unlimited? It says, Dafka b'pula shel hateva atzma. In a miracle specifically like this, only when nature is at play, like we just said in the story of Purim yesterday, but even more so in this miracle, because we said the story of Purim is still celebrated on one of the days of the month, so it still has this notion of Chiddush, because it was very obvious that there was a miracle, despite the fact that it was dressed in nature. But when there's a pure revelation of God in nature itself, without going out of nature in any way, this actually shows the true limitlessness, strangely, of the Eibishter. Ad shinoi hagorim lakach shebeteva ha'olam, where Hashem makes a revelation, so to speak, a non-revelation in nature so much that it looks like nature itself is itself carrying out the will of God. Kafi sha'olam misnagim kafi gidrei hateva. Right? Like, what would be the biggest miracle if sort of a fire came down on Gaza and just like found all the evil people and destroyed them? Or literally, if just natural causes created a situation where things just sort of went the way they should without any miracles happening, right? When nature itself, right, when the firstborn of Egypt sort of get their head straight and start to do the right thing, even though there's nothing to see here, that would definitely be considered to be even a greater miracle, right? And the idea is, when do we say Maka Mitzrayim b'choreihem? There's like a last name to that sentence, Ki leolam chasdo, right? This notion of the Egyptians fight Maka Mitzrayim b'choreihem, that Egypt was struck not by God, not by the Jewish people, but with their firstborn themselves. That's the end of this pasuk says Ki leolam chasdo, which means we see that the olam chasdo, that Hashem's chesed is found not in some import on top of the regular world, but the Hashem's chesed is found in the world itself. The newspaper shows good news. Simple as that. Like the Rabbi said, we're going to see Mashiach in the newspaper. It's not going to be something that's going to break the rules of nature. In fact, this is also one of the ways that the Rabbi explains some strange language in the Rambam, when he explains the whole days of Mashiach. Just in yesterday's Rambam also, he says, the olam kaminhago noheg. He says it's going to be just a normal world. What? You look into all the Nevi'im and you see impossible things, that there's going to be, miraculous reality, tchias amesim, etc., things that can't be explained by nature. And then the Rambam calls this that the world will go in its normal way. And the idea that all these things should become natural to us, that even the goyim, everyone should see these glorious things. Ki li'olam chasdo, is chesed should be found in the world. And where is this sort of the source material for all this concept that Hashem's true godlus and his true infinity is found when he's acting naturally? From this pasuk that we say in Tehillim, right? The pasuk says, "Gadol havaya u'mehula mi'od be'ir Elokeinu." What does it mean? God is havaya. Havaya is gadol, right? So this is sort of the source text of this notion of gadol, because there's such a thing called havaya, but suddenly there's called gadol havaya. That Havaya can be in a state of true godless, but when is it's extraordinarily praiseworthy? Muhul al mi'od, when it's Be'ir Elokeinu, right? What is Be'ir Elokeinu? Masahu Gadol, right? The question is asked, when is he great? When is Havaya great? Thank you. Kishu Be'ir Elokeinu. Really, its true greatness is when it's hiding inside of the city of Elokim. What does it mean? Mashmus Dvarim Havaya. First of all, let's understand what Havaya and Elokim are. Havaya, Sheperusho Haya Hovev Yihye Kechad. Havaya really means that past, present, and future are all as one. Normally, a person would think that itself is Gadol. Right? When you take a situation of regular old time and space, right? And there's past, there's present, and future, and someone's going to tell you there's this reality where past, present, and future are as one. And you could all of a sudden be in a situation where all of time and space collapses on itself, and you can experience this, what Rambam actually called in yesterday's Rambam, he calls this olam haba, where it's not physical, and you go into a state where you get to experience the glory of Hashem every second. You would think that's called Havaya. Compared to Elokim, it's already called Gadol, but it's not called Gadol, right? That's just called plain old Havaya, which is already an infinity. Infinity is called Havaya. And you would think that Havaya, infinity, is an expression of Hashem's limitlessness. But it comes out, no, right? Havaya is miraculousness above nature. But Elokeinu refers to, of course, the gematria Hateva, nature, which is the source of all natural things, time and space. And the verse, this is already a deep philosophical concept shown to us by David HaMelech. We didn't know it until it was brought out in Chassidus, but this is what he's saying. In other words, the simple meaning of Gadol Havaya Mehula Me'od B'Elokeinu just simply means that God is great in the city of our God, which is in Jerusalem. You go to Jerusalem, you see God. But when you sort of turn on the Chassidic goggles, we're saying that Havaya is not Gadol. Only Havaya is called Gadol when it cloaks itself into Ir Elokeinu, when it cloaks itself into Teva. Masaihu Gadol, says the Gemara. When is it great? When is Havaya truly called Gadol? When it comes into nature. Kolom, which means to say, Anhagas Nisi Sapuela Shidud Bitul Teva this notion of miracles which come to disrupt the order of nature. Lo nikar kol kach ketzad havayahu gadol. We do not see the true greatness of our Creator. We don't see the true limitlessness. How could it be? Because this is the basic story that we've said over to each other many times in the sefer called Avodas HaKodesh, that it says, he who says that Hashem is infinite is what? He's limiting Hashem. Because if you say Hashem is infinite, you're basically saying that the true God is something beyond time and space. He can't be finite. Truly, when God is in his limitlessness, it means there's nothing he can't be. He's what we call kol yachol. He could do anything, which means Hashem could be finite too. And adrabah, if Hashem could be infinite and finite at the same time, that's what we mean when we say Gadol Havaya. Right? Havaya is truly great. You can only see the true greatness of infinite when it's able to sit inside of finite and be there simultaneously. And so when is that? Be'ir Elokeinu, when the infinite comes and sits inside of nature. Only when the name Havaya is found simultaneously something miraculous, but inside of a natural day, when it changes the nature itself to go in accordance with God's wishes, without having to overshadow it, which we will then see that li'olam chasdo, that even in the regular old world of regular politics and regular people, nothing to see here, you see the chesed of Hashem blaring away. This represents the true godlus. This represents the true nature of the infinite, limitless nature. He's not just infinite, and that because that itself would be a limit. He's also finite, and that's called Gadol Havaya. V'zeu achidush shel Shabbos haGadol, and that's why we say this is called Shabbos haGadol. Right? Stam Nes, because a regular miracle, it doesn't get the title called Gadol. We don't call it great. Every miracle is basically like a small miracle, in a sense. Right? Because Eino Inyan Shel Gadol B'Havlata, it doesn't stick out this true limitlessness. Only when is it called a Nes Gadol? Only when the world itself will come and conduct itself seemingly naturally, but in accordance with the fulfillment of Hashem's wishes, that the Ratzon of Hashem will be fulfilled on this earth. Then the nature itself accords, and that's really called Mashiach. And this is really what Rambam is saying, that the world will go naturally. He doesn't mean to diminish the state of Mashiach. This is how the Rabbi explains the Rambam. Others explain the Rambam that he's arguing, right, with the general populace that believes that in the future there's going to be miracles. The way the Rebbe explains it is that no, the fact that there's not miracles, and we're going to see this as a natural thing, that represents the true godless of Hashem. Okay, finished. Finished. Any questions on this whole matter?
Yeah, literally why Pesach is called Shabbos.
Why Pesach is called Shabbos? Yeah, I mean, basically, what you want to say?
No, I just said we'll get that. It's the whole thing.
Because we weren't working anymore.
The truth is that Pesach, it's called Shabbos in the pasuk there, not so much to make a Shabbos out of Pesach, right? But what's that?
It's like off the Shabbos, it's beyond the...
Exactly. It's right. It's coming to tell you why is it called Shabbos. Really, it's not in order to tell us that Shabbos is called Pesach, because as someone asked yesterday, Shabbos is not Pesach, right? Pesach is not Shabbos. It doesn't have that quality. On the contrary, Pesach is like a miracle. Shabbos is part of the world. Shabbos is intrinsically higher. So why does the pasuk go and in fact it creates problems, right? By Tusim and the Sadducees, whatever it may be, they tried to basically argue with the whole Torah Shabbat Peh, because they said, it's called Machros Shabbos. We should start counting the Omer only after Shabbos, not after Pesach. So why did Hashem make this confusion? So again, it wasn't in order to name Pesach Shabbos, it was in order to tell us the quality of Sfiras HaOmer. That Mimachras Shabbos Tizperu, after Shabbos you should start counting, meaning to say that the power to count the Omer, which is a process of refining your animal soul, which is basically lifting up materialism and making it holy. This is a power that comes from beyond the level of Shabbos, right? So Mimachras Shabbos means the day after Shabbos means something which is beyond the level of Shabbos. So it's not so much, it's not even really talking necessarily about Pesach. It's trying to indicate that what gives you such a power to be able to transform yourself by counting a few days, it's a level which is beyond Shabbos itself.
And what is that level?
That level is sort of what's usually called the eighth level, right? Something beyond Shabbos is like beyond the Seder Ishtalshlus. Shabbos, because it's still part of the world, even though it's a unique part of the world, it still has a certain limitedness of being part of the Seder Ishtalshlus. That's what we're saying here, right? When Shabbos, which is part of the world, and the world will conduct itself holy, that's this great Gadlus. But the reality is because the Shabbos is sort of part of the natural order of things. So to go Machras Shabbos, a day after Shabbos, that represents a level which is beyond the Seder Ishtalshlus. What's that? The eighth string. And this is Shmini Atzeres, Chanukah, Bris, all these inyanim, they all show on a level which can...
Infinity.
Yes. Okay. End of the Sikha. Should we try again? Another Shabbos Gadol. I don't know.